Hi everyone, I'm joined by Shenan on the line today. Shenan is someone I met recently online and has recently come across the three principles. He's someone that had a conversation with me recently, and he's got a really powerful story, and one that he shared with me, and I thought could be a really powerful one for him to share with the Powerful Men's Group. And so I offered to Shenan that we record this, almost like an interview, but not, very gentle kind of conversation, and share it with the whole group, because I thought there could be parts of it which could really help someone else who listened to it. And Shenan's been very kind to offer to do that. And so welcome, Shenan.
Thank you, Ankush. Thanks for having me.
I'm sure most of the people in this group don't know you, don't know who you are, don't know your background. So, and I know there's a long story and a short story, but I guess just to start off with, what do you do right now? Where are you based? And just give us a kind of an update in terms of. Well, let's just start with where you are right now.
Yeah, where I am. So currently, I'm working as a coach for the last two and a half years now, and I'm in Vancouver, BC, not far from Salt Spring Island.
Fantastic. And so you're in Vancouver, Canada. I think we might have one or two people in the group from that part of the world. So maybe people can reach out to you there. You're a coach. You're a coach out in Canada. Who do you typically tend to work with?
I find that question still difficult to answer. I really don't have a niche of who I work with or who I look to work with. But these days, for the last 6 months to a year, I've been working with anyone that really wants to take their life and create something with it. Before that, I worked with people who were more maybe emotionally challenged or working with their beliefs and stuff. But now it's about who wants to move forward, what do they want to create in their lives, and I help them support. I support them in doing that.
And maybe now is a good time to talk about the longer story. So you've got a fairly different background to, I think, many people in the group, quite a challenging background. Could you tell people a little bit about where you've come from? So we talked about where you are, but where have you come from?
Yeah, and I'll try to keep it short because there's a lot of detail in there. But I was born in Kenya, in Africa, and I came to Canada when I was 11 years old. My parents brought me and my brother here as they seen a better life offered in Canada than a third world country like Kenya. I went through school with, getting bullied a lot because I was different, culture shock and language and clothes and everything. And that led me to really move out of school, skip school a lot, not attend classes, not do my work. And I started hanging around with people that were doing the same. And before long, I was about 14 or 16 years of age when I was skipping to a point where I was not productive at all. Started getting into smoking weed and selling weed and all those kinds of things. And by 16, I used to just keep hearing from every adult that was around me that if you're not going to school, you're not going to be successful, and really trying to scare me into going to school. That's how I translated it. So I just started selling drugs at that point. I mean, that's all I'd seen was, because success equaled money to me. Every time somebody said success, I was like, oh, money, I'm not going to make money. And so that led me to this. And before I knew it, 16, 18, 20 years old, I was deep into that gang-related world of selling and doing drugs and doing a lot of crime. It led to a lot of confusion and pain because around that age, when I was that age, I started losing a lot of friends to either prison or death. people used to get shot and die, and that really started shaking my world up, but not enough for me to get out of it. I sunk deeper into it. Until around 20, I think around 23, 24, 25 even, maybe, I started to wake up. And it was from, my best friend getting shot and a couple of other incidents that were really heavy on my heart. So I started to make my way out of that life because I just didn't see much of an out. It was either prison or death for me. And so I started getting little jobs here and there. I couldn't hold them. I used to always get fired or quit because I had such a big ego that I didn't want to work for anybody telling me what to do, when to do it, and when to take my lunch break. So that happened for a bit, and then around, I guess 26, 27, started working towards getting a franchise. There's a franchise restaurant called Tim Hortons here, which is like a religion here. It's a coffee shop, but everyone in Canada really loves that, to a point where if you talk bad about it, the public will let you know. And that seemed like a good idea at the time to get into. So me and my girlfriend at that time, we got into that. We got into how to get a Tim Hortons. Now, things didn't change inside of me because to me success still equaled money, and Tim Hortons is really a cash cow. Like, I have no passion to serve coffee over and over again. I really did it for the money. And so I got into that, and we couldn't get one because we had no experience or financial background, so we actually went and worked at a Tim Hortons. So I actually did all the steps, from serving coffee to becoming a baker and then supervisor, assistant manager, all the steps it requires to know the business. And then they approved us to get our own restaurants. So we opened in 2011, end of 2011. And I had my own Timmy's, and I was really proud of myself because I was a grade 10 dropout, and I never thought I could make it this far, and very proud of my external accomplishment. But about a year into it, I started to wake up to the fact that I have no fulfillment inside, and something is really missing, and I didn't know what it was because externally I thought I had achieved everything. And that's when I started to look inside and get into personal development, and from then on, it was a confusing path to let go of the Tim Hortons. Me and my girlfriend clashed a lot because of values and beliefs changed. And that relationship ended. We gave up the Tim Hortons back to the corporation, which I voluntarily did because I really was miserable at that point. And after that, I took about 6 months off before I got into coaching. I hired my own coach in 2013 and 2014, and I started to see my life really transform in different ways that I just didn't see coaching as something that was even existing, this bit outside of the sports world. And I was amazed at the shifts I had. So I decided that I want to do that because I wanted to help people in the way I have been helped, and help them with their internal world more than just external world. And that was about 2014 when I started professional business. I did it for about a year without a company, and for $40 or $50 here and there. And then I went professional in 2014. I registered my own company and I started going deep into it. And I think 2015 is when I started really getting into the prosperous coach and the principles behind that and shaping my practice around that. So that's the short version.
And thank you for that background, and quite a remarkable story of shifting from what many people would see a life of crime and really going down the wrong path to shifting and changing into working your way up, buying your own business, letting that go, and starting your own coaching business, which I believe you've been quite successful at and helped a lot of people in that world. Recently we spoke, and I think you'd come across the 3 principles already before we spoke, and then we had a conversation about going deeper with that. And could you tell us a little bit about what happened next after we spoke last?
Yeah. So I came across the principles around February of just this year, and I immersed myself in it after watching some Michael Neal's videos on YouTube. I was familiar with his work a little bit from the coaching circles, but not in a 3P way. And it just happened to be that I had to have a small surgery on my back in February, which was small, but big enough that I had to rest for 3 weeks. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do besides documentaries and books and YouTube, educational videos? And that's when I ran into his stuff. So my introduction to 3Ps was not that, well, I'm in pain and I want some help and I'm seeing it out. I was just intrigued by this understanding. And I got more and more deeper into it this year. And the insight that I had just recently was when I was watching a video with Dr. Bill Pettit, and I think it was with the 3PGC webinar, and he was speaking about a young boy in school that was really angry at his principal enough that he wanted to kill the principal. And so he brought a gun to school and he walked down the hall when he seen the principal and took the gun out and shot him right in the chest, killing the principal. And he went to prison for it. And somebody was interviewing this gentleman in prison, and he was saying that right before this happened, right before he shot the principal, he had different thoughts coming to his head, different voices telling him, there's the exit door, take it now, you don't have to do this is not the right path. But he ignored those voices and still did it. When I heard this, it really hit me hard, unexpectedly, and I had to pause the video because I was very overwhelmed with emotion and tears rolling down my face. Because it took me back to a specific incident in my life when I was involved in a criminal act and I was about to do an act of crime because I was in that world. And the reason it took me back there is because I remember this one specific time where I was about to do something because I had planned it for about 2 weeks prior to doing the act. And I remember right before the act, I had voices telling me not to do it, to pretend that my leg is hurt and go sit in the car, or say you're not available at this time before going towards the place to do the act. And I remember thinking that this is just me doubting myself and trying to shake it off. I remember thinking that these are very foreign thoughts. This is not me. Where is this coming from? Is it my fear? And just dismissing them and going back into my planned thinking that I was doing this act. So I ignored the thoughts and did the act. When I heard Dr. Pettit talk about it, I was immediately shook, and I couldn't articulate this for about a month. But now I see that it was the deeper mind where the thoughts come from, as I understand it, speaking to me and offering me new thought. And I didn't take it. And the reason I didn't take it is because I didn't think they were my thoughts. I was so used to, in my circular thinking of the previous 2 weeks that I had of planning the criminal act, and I thought those were my thoughts. Those were my thoughts, and this is something foreign trying to enter into me. But what I'm seeing now is that there is no such thing as my thoughts. There's no personal thought. It all comes from the same place, because 2 weeks of me having that thinking that wasn't my thought either 2 weeks ago. Before the 2 weeks, that thought was new, and I hung on to it and shaped it in my way and formed it in a way to fulfill my own selfish needs. because I was stuck in that place. And this, so that's the insight, that there's no personal thought. And I was very much taken aback because I got to see just a little bit, a little glimpse of that there is no me. I don't know if I'm even explaining this to my satisfaction, but there is no me here. In my thinking, I used to identify myself with my thinking, and I've seen that there is no personal thought. It all comes from this other place, which is the deeper mind. And when I seen that, it slowed me down. It dropped me out in this quiet spot, out of my head, for I think the first time that I remember ever. And I'm sure this has happened as a kid, but in my adult life, I don't remember anything making me feel that I'm not in control and safe at the same time as this insight did. And it also didn't, it was also strange because I'm used to having insights in this personal development world that I want to go out there in the world and apply to change my world. But this is more like, I just see and understand a little more of how I operate and how others operate, or how humans experience is. So yeah, that's it.
May I give my thoughts on what I think you're saying, and
course,
try and
please.
put some words to that? It sounds like the experience that you've had. You talk about realizing that it's not your thinking. It sounds like to me that you used to associate your personality and who you are with your thinking. So your personality and who you are was a reflection of the thoughts that you used to have. And it sounds like that's really similar to other people who, they want to be a good person, so they try and have good thoughts. Or they want to be a positive person, so they try and have positive thoughts. And it sounds like you've had a realization that you are not your thinking. And that we all have lots of different thinking throughout a day. Some of it is positive, some of it is negative, some of it makes sense, some of it's just totally random. We don't listen to every single thought that we had. If we did, we'd be in a very different place. And I'm assuming even when you were in this gang and doing these criminal acts, you didn't listen to every single thought you had. And there was some distinguishing that you did between various thinking and which ones to listen to and which ones not to. And it sounds like you've now gone completely the other way, which is to realize all of it is neutral. All of it is just thinking. It comes and it goes. And none of it is a reflection of who you are as a person. None of it is a reflection of your value as a human being or your moral standing or anything like that. Because thoughts are involuntary. You don't choose what thinking you have. They just come. Am I paraphrasing or reflecting back what you were saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you are explaining it a lot clearer than I can. As this is new to me, I'm really just still digesting and registering. And you are so right when you say that. As you were speaking, I can even reflect back to that world when I was in that world of, gang-related world, I would call it. I had thoughts, very many different thoughts I remember now. As you speak, I remember that some were very extreme, that I'm not going to do that. That's way too extreme, but I'll do this. And I would identify myself and with, like you said, my personality and my moral standards at that point. And yes, it's also becoming clear to me that all thoughts are neutral, and I am not identifying myself with those thoughts. as I did before. I still get caught up in my thinking a lot, but I'm starting to give it the space to leave instead of forming it into my personality, if that makes any sense.
Well, I was going to ask you, where does this leave you now, in terms of I guess what the question is, so what? Someone might be listening to this and go, great, you've realized that you're not your personality, you're not your thinking, but what's the outcome? What's the impact to you and for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. The outcome, if there is one, is really just freedom from my thinking. And if that's what it is, then it's going to help me effortlessly shape, or not even shape, but create my life in a way that's where I don't identify myself with it. I don't know how to really answer that question besides just saying it's freeing me up to not identify myself with my thinking, and that expands the possibilities of what is possible for me to do with my life. Does that make any sense?
It does, and
okay.
I've seen so many people. This is, I run the Powerful Men's Group, and one of the things that I point people to is that their true power is inside of them. And what I see is, it's not that power is outside that we need to get through money or through a job or prestige. Not that there's anything wrong with those things, but that power is inside of us, and when we stop identifying with our thinking, that's when we can really tap into that power. And so many things in life that we see as negative are a result of us believing our thinking. Whether it's that we're overweight, a lot of the time we eat because we're not very clear up here, and we're eating to try and cover up some thinking or some pain or some trauma, or it's a misunderstanding problem. It's not an eating problem, because everyone knows if I eat this junk, I'm going to put on weight, and they don't want to put on weight. That's not the issue about knowing what's good for us or bad for us. It's a thinking problem. And it's the same with, so many other things in life. It's not a case of the person who wants a promotion not knowing what to do, but it's often feelings of, or thinking about not being good enough, or what that would mean. There's people I've coached who think the opposite of what you used to, that more money would mean less happiness, which is a misunderstanding, and stop people reaching their earning potential. We've had it the other way. Earning more is the only way I can be happy, which leads to bad decision making. These are all thinking problems, and ultimately when they fall away, which it sounds like is starting to happen for you, that's when you can really have a much better experience of life and show up much more fully in your true power. What that looks like is different for every person.
Yeah, I think you explained it really well, that I'm starting to see in a deeper way that everything is related just to the thinking, and it's not about fixing the external world in any way to lead to contentment and happiness. It's more about not identifying yourself with the thinking that you're getting, and taking action on the thinking that feels good. And that kind of where I am at with it right now, where it's, I've fought with this a lot. I wrestled with the simplicity of it. It can't be this simple, because I've worked so hard to get to where I am. It really can't be this simple, but that's where I'm going. That's the direction I'm seeing it now, is that it is that simple. And once you let the thinking that is not feeling good, you let that fall away. There is thinking that does feel good that comes in, and I can choose to take action on that. And that kind of becomes in an effortless way because it feels good to do it.
What I'm really looking forward to is seeing how this plays out for you in your life. I know it plays out for everyone in different ways. I also hope that people can watch this video and get some hope from it, because with due respect, if there was someone who was so lost in their thinking they were going down a criminal life, if you can see through this in what is a very, very short space of time and really kind of do a 180, then I hope that a lot of people can watch this and have hope for their own lives, that they also don't need to be a slave to their thinking. They don't need to believe that their thinking means something about their moral standing or their character or their personality, and they also can get freed from that. And once they do, I know it can change their life.
Yeah, I hope for the same. I hope that somebody does, who is watching this, can see it and relate it to whatever thinking that they might be identifying themselves with, and seeing that my, which is quite others. There's something else coming up that was a second insight that I got from the same video, I think. Is it okay if I share that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. As I mentioned before, I was in a world where, with drugs and violence and crime, I used to take a lot of drugs. So I was in, alcohol and drugs, alcohol and cocaine specifically, was a big part of my life for about 10 years. And I did that a lot, every second, third, or fourth day for 10 years. And I was able to drop that with no, therapy, NA, AA, nothing like that. Just, it fell away, and I couldn't understand it. I just thought that I have replaced my beliefs, and I've done all this personal development work, and it's coaching that has got me there. That's really the only answer I could come up with. Oh, coaching. I was able to see when Dr. Bill Pettit was explaining that it's just a shift of state of mind, because the person taking alcohol and drugs, which was me, is doing it to feel better than I currently am in my sober reality. I was actually doing it to feel better because my mind was so stressed out in my sober reality that this would give me the escape. And when I was able to be in a higher state of mind, in a sober reality that was higher than the alcohol and drugs, I didn't go back to that. And that's a new insight for me, because I understand now, that it's the state of mind thing. It's not about replacing your beliefs and your routines and your habits. It's that there is a state of mind I experienced which was even better than drugs and alcohol, and it was in my sober reality, and therefore it fell away. So I just wanted to share that, and again, it's new, so it's going to sink in and register in its own way and make its way through me to get hopefully more clarity in it. But that was quite freeing, because it takes me away from this this belief that I had that we need to shift our beliefs and routines in order to be in a place where we are not tempted by that world anymore. This is simply just an elevation of state of mind.
Yeah, I really see the innocence of people doing whatever they do. And I remember actually it was from Eckhart Tolle that I first heard this, prior to me learning about the three principles, which is that, people are self-medicating. People are doing whatever they're doing in order to feel good, and they're doing it from a place that makes sense to them based on their current level of thinking, based on their level of consciousness, if you like. And I saw that in my own way, not through alcohol and drugs. For me, it was through television. And I remember at a particular stressed time of my life, just going through kind of box sets of TV where it got to the stage where I'd go to work, come home, watch an episode, eat, and then spend the rest of the evening watching episodes, go to sleep, and then go back to work. And it was really unhelpful and it was really unhealthy. But I was doing the best that I knew at that time to try and make myself feel better. And I think a lot of the time that's why just simply abstaining from certain things only goes so far, because you're not really fixing the problem. And the problem is a thinking problem. It's a misunderstanding problem of where stress and anxiety and everything come from. And so for me, I talk about it as a rise in the level of our understanding. As we understand better how life works, as we understand better where stress and anxiety and everything come from, and it's being generated inside of us, then those things that we were relying on as crutches to get us through the day or to feel better just don't make sense anymore. So it's not about refraining from them, trying to break free from them, but it's starting to see for ourselves inside that they're just no longer necessary and they don't make sense. And that's why for me, not that I was a big drinker, but I've also found my alcohol intake's virtually down to zero nowadays, just simply because I used to like having a drink to feel better, and now I just don't enjoy it anymore. In fact, I find that the most refreshing thing is water, but that's not come from me making a conscious choice to change my behaviors. It's come out of an understanding, I've got my glass of water here, my bottle of water, it just tastes better if I feel good for taking that, as opposed to let me take something which is going to change my state.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And it reminds me that it's internal, it's inside out. It just points towards that more and more.
Well, thank you for taking some time to record this with me, Shenan. If people wanted to get in contact with you, if they were touched by this story and wanted to connect with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, my website is being built because I'm changing a few things in it. So you can still go to it. It's shenancharania.com, Shenancharania.com. And my contact info is still available on there, although there's no content. Or you can connect with me on Facebook. Same name, Shenan Charania. And that's where you can find me.
Fantastic. If any of this has resonated with people and they'd like to connect with me or like to be a member of the Powerful Men's Group, again, the best way is through my website, which is ankushjain.co.uk, ankushjain.co.uk. And there is a contact me page where you can reach out to me, as well as lots of social media links and content that I do for my relationship series. Thank you very much, Shenan, for joining me. I really hope that lots of people get to see this and are impacted by your story, and I hope to speak to you soon.
Thank you very much, Ankush, and thank you for being willing to do this with me.
It's a pleasure.